grab you a cup of coffee, and today we are finally getting to talk about how to build your own health class for high school. Hey everyone, I'm really excited to talk about this because this was the first time that I was able to actually it's not completely true. So over the years, even when we had box curriculum, I would rearrange courses and change courses. And the reason I completely pulled away from box curriculum was that I felt like it had too much filler space and that I was throwing away more than what I was using. And when those curriculums cost so much money, throwing away stuff I wasn't using just really bothered me. I felt like I was wasting materials. So then as we slowly started coming away from box curriculum, we started piecing together more and more of our own curriculum. And when I say curriculum, I mean like what you use as a basis to report to your state or to keep yourself accountable of what your kids are using. When I say curriculum, that doesn't always necessarily mean like I bought this box and this box had this stuff that my kid did in it and look at the stuff my kid did. That's not always necessarily what I mean. So for me, curriculum is whatever you are using to get your child from point A to point B. So that's kind of where we are. But over the years, we kind of slowly were piecing stuff together, but it was really exciting to be able to write my own health curriculum because I hate most health curriculums that were already out there. They were either too much emphasis on like the physical body and not the mental or the spiritual body. And by the way, just for anybody who's clicking on this and you're not fully aware, just to be clear, we are Christian homeschool parents, Bible first, Bible based. So if that's not for you, maybe this video is not for you. And that will tie into our health curriculum here in a minute. But whenever we were sitting down to look at it, like I couldn't find anything. And finally I reached out to my friend Margie. You're going to be hearing a lot about her because she's my biggest influence and push for finally taking that step of faith to just completely write my own health curriculum. So I sat down one day while my kids were watching a nature documentary, and no, I was not using the nature documentary for influence, for suggestions and things. It was one of those school days where I had them watching a documentary so I could work on something else. Because our goal is we try to, in January, when we're all home, usually snowed in, that's when I sit down and I write out our curriculum for the next school year so that I'm not worrying about it over the summer. I'm just enjoying the time with my family. And we do classes in the summer, but usually for summer school, we do like one class per student, pretty much it. So I want to enjoy my summer. So I was looking back in January of 2023 of what am I going to do? So I sat down one day, put a documentary on for the kids, on Disney Plus, probably the Disney Nature. I like most of the Disney Nature documentaries. And I was like, and I tell people I'm going to do a video soon. I need to go back and find the post where I wrote down the 5 points. But I did this post recently, not for like self-glory, I finally wrote out the steps of how I encourage people to start with when picking curriculum with homeschooling. And they're like, why have you not done that as a video? So I need to go back and find that specific post because I love the points and the way that those are written out. Once I find that, then yes, I will go back and make that video for you guys of my 5 tips on starting with either 100% starting from scratch homeschooling or starting with how we pick curriculum and how to do it like step by step. So the first thing I'm going to mention here is we pray. And I'm like, Lord, I need guidance. I need help. This is hard because either it's like, there's stuff in the health curriculum over here that like, I don't want my kids learning that. And I don't want to emphasize that. Or there's stuff over here. I'm like, this is repetitive. They've already learned all this. They know what their 5 senses are. They know about the skeletal system. They know the names of bones that I forget after teaching it. And they'll still remember the names of those bones. And that's not what I wanted. I wanted my kids to see that there are many times in scripture that God talks about mental well-being, physical well-being, spiritual well-being. And so that's where I started. And I also reached out to my friend Margie. So let's talk real quick about how I have this ordered out. And then we'll talk about vaguely some of the topics that we covered. So the first thing I did was, number 1, I prayed over it. And I'm like, Lord, give me guidance. And I spent about sorry guys, I'm still getting used to the new camera, 4 to 5 hours while kids were watching nature documentaries of just sitting down with all the resources that I had to teach a health class. My Bible, my planner, my phone, a tablet, books that we had, and just sat down and started in DVDs, stacks of DVDs, and sat down and planned all this out. The first thing I did was, when are we doing it? So for us, we did it the fall semester. And health class is only a half credit class. You don't have to go a whole year in high school. So if you are wanting to extend this to like middle school and you're wanting to use this for middle school health, you could extend it to a whole year. Just extend each point out a little bit more. You can add some additional reading, some additional journaling, some more hands-on activities, things like that. You could extend this out a little bit longer than what I did. And under each point, you could look and be like, oh, hey, I could add more here, or I could add more here. There's 2 that we did at the end that you could do like months on those 2. We just did 2 weeks on them. So the first thing I did was, when are we doing it? So we did it for our fall semester. And it was because this spring right now is personal finance. And that's also a half credit class. So I wanted to do one in the fall and one in the spring. And I thought fall would be better for this, because also like the way that, I'll explain this in another video, but the way that the personal finance works is like the teacher key that you get is for 1 whole year. So if it's a half credit class, I wanted to do my oldest 2 first by themselves, and then my youngest 2 once my youngest reached high school age, and do her the following semester. So like my oldest 2 are doing it in the spring and my youngest 2 are doing it in the fall. And that way I don't have to pay for another $200 for a teacher key for another year, because it's half digital, half book work. And we'll explain all that in another video about what we used and how we're doing it, and show you the unboxing of the actual workbooks that they sent to go with the digital work. That's going to be in probably next week's video, Lord willing. I do pause educational videos when we're traveling, so like I don't have these up, but I do also try to film like a lot of these at one time, and so I'm going to try to do that. But yeah, first thing I did was, when are we doing it? So then from there, it was, how many weeks do I need to fill that semester? And for us, it took 18 weeks to do the fall semester. You may have more weeks in your spring semester, depending on if you take a winter and a spring break, which we definitely do. And it's not necessarily like the kids need a break as much as like our house needs a break. There's those weeks of like, either we need to get out of the house because we've been in the house a lot for snowed in, or there's weeks to just like, we need to have time to like pack down all the winter clothes and get all the spring clothes out. Or there's time that we just need to go and be with family members to help them take care of stuff like loading their wood piles, or helping them clear their gardens, things like that. So that's kind of why we do winter and spring breaks. And then also our winter break is because we have 2 birthdays and an anniversary all within like 12 days of each other. So that's the other reason why we do a winter break. And then spring break is just kind of a reset. And then we usually do some kind of trip in April, because April's the easiest time for homeschool families to travel and cheapest. So you may need more weeks if you do it in the spring, and you may need less weeks if you're going to do it as a summer course. If you're homeschooling our umbrella school in Tennessee, and all this is based on what Tennessee does. I don't know other states. Our anchor state is Tennessee. You may do less for like a summer course. Summer in Tennessee only requires 45 days of school. It does require 2 hours a day versus the 2 hours for all of your curriculum. It does require 2 hours a day for it to count, 2 hours a day for 45 days to count as a course. So, I mean, you could change it to adjust for that. So then once I had which semester, how many weeks I needed, then I went into Google Sheets and I planned out. And all I did was start labeling the 18 weeks. Then from there, I put in the day 1, day 2, day 3. So day 1 for each one of these is usually a video. Day 2 is a journaling or a class discussion one. Day 3 is a hands-on day to go with each one. And because of the way that we do homeschool, we do not, sorry, I cannot see around my strap if this is still recording or not. And the other day it actually shut off when I needed it to record. We only do 3 days of book work, because we have a 4th day for hands-on and then a 5th day for shopping, socialization. I hate calling it that, but Fourth, that's what it is. Fifth day for like shopping, socialization, community service, reaching out to people. It's our reaching out to people day is what I would prefer to call it. Reaching out today and stocking up our house with groceries and teaching kids in the real world. We talk about budgets and healthy foods and choices and how to adjust to things in the middle of a stressful situation. Like, hey, I plan on doing this meal and they're completely sold out of it. Now I have to make an executive decision in the middle of a store with 500 other people in here. So, yeah, that's why I still count shopping days as school day. And then from there, after I had the number of weeks and then day 1, day 2, day 3 for each category, then I went in and started putting in the topics. The first topic that my friend Margie suggests doing, and I did this, and it was a great kickstart for, especially like, because if you're changing over to health, you're starting a new semester. And so like sometimes you and your kids just need that refresh of like, hey, we need to remember we're starting a new semester and just do something new. So like this was a fun way to do it. We kicked it off with healthy eating. And I'm not going to cover all the topics because once I'm finished with this video, if you go over to our channel, I know homeschool moms, like budgets, tight, it's hard right now. I'm asking for the 99 cents for this plan just to cover my time to do it. That's it. I will send it to you as a PDF in your email once you sign up to be a channel member. And I'm only doing it at the 99 cent level. I'm not doing it at our $4.99 level. 99 cents, 1 month. Stay a member, channel member for 1 month, 99 cents. I will send you this as a PDF to kind of help you kickstart how to do it. I can even do emails or Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, and talk you through this if you need help. But I'm doing it because number one, it helps support my family back right now, especially with this huge adventure that we're fixing to do this summer that we really weren't like prepared to do, but like we also really want to do it mostly for my mother-in-law, then for my husband, and then for my kids. But so like the money from that will go for that. And then also, like I said, for my time to sit here and plan this out and make it into a PDF for you guys. So I'm not going to cover every topic for the 18, did I say 18? Yeah, 18 weeks. Like I said, we actually ended up having I think we added a week. And then like if you do it in the fall or in the spring or summer, you can adjust the weeks as you go. But I will say week number 1 was healthy eating. Kicking off with healthy eating is a great way to like refresh and really focus on, we're not going to just cover uncomfortable topics in health class. So that's why we kind of started that way. Then the next 2 weeks that we did, we focused on the physical body. And that's how we did it. And again, I'm not going to give like the top in the name of no, we spent 3 weeks on the physical body. And the reason why we did that was, now this is going to require, for us, it required going back into our biology 101 class. So when my currently right now 11th graders were in 10th grade, they took biology 101. You can purchase it on Interest in Genesis. I'll try to link the video up here down there of the biology 101 overview that we did and review that we did. And we really love this biology class. So what it did was that biology class ends with the physical body. Like it starts from creation and goes through the days of creation. So the last thing you cover is human anatomy. So what we did was we were like, hey, this is spring of 10th grade year that they're doing human anatomy for biology. They're fixing to start health for fall of 11th grade year. So what we did was we just waited. We did not do the physical body, which also gave us longer to spend on the plants and animals for biology. And then we waited and pulled that out and put it into our health class. So I do have on here how I did that with specifically the biology 101, but you could do the same thing. You could start with what your kids biology 101 or your kids high school biology class covers, take the human anatomy out and just put it in health class. Because if you're anything like me, I hate repeating topics. I really do. I feel like it's a waste of school time. I know there's some things you will have to review. Like I get that. But for me, looking at like human anatomy, spring biology, human anatomy, fall for health class, because you are supposed to cover some human anatomy for health class, we just prefer to do it that way. So we took it out, focused more on the plants and animals of biology, and like illnesses, sicknesses, things like that, bacteria, all that, and left that with biology, and then moved the rest to the health class. So we spent 3 weeks covering that. Then I will get to this another day. For all of my kids, we did 1 week. I told them, give me 1 week and we're done on maturation. And that's it. I actually wrote out 3 days of discussion points on maturation. And like, I actually just pulled out my phone and I wrote out like points of what does the Bible say about maturation. And if you don't understand what I mean by that, I'm not going to call it what it actually is called in public school. I wanted to do, as a Christian parent, what does God say about maturation, reproduction, things like that. And we did 1 week on it. And also, while we did 1 week on it, I'll go ahead and point out the last day was setting boundaries, because I feel like that's a discussion teen girls need to know. So we did that. We had a discussion about that. We had a discussion about when those boundaries are crossed. How do we go and talk to people? How do we handle these circumstances and situations? So that was how we dealt with all of that. And we spent 1 week on it, and then we were done. And I'll go ahead and mention it here. Later, I'm going to talk about health class again and how to teach it without that. Because I told my current 8th grader, you've done it, you sat through the class, we are not discussing this again. Unless you want to come to me with questions that you have. And we've done that. I've had a couple of my kids come to me with questions since we had the class of like, what about this? And like, not like weird, like contemplating and constantly thinking about it. Just like healthy discussions that kids should be able to go to their parents and say, hey, what about this? Or how do we handle this? Or what do I do about this? Or is this normal in maturing of like, muscle cramps and things? And so like we talk about those things in private, but like having that beginning of the year, getting it out of the way and going back to Bible for it, it became a beautiful week of just like talking about it and then saying, sometimes we have to have uncomfortable conversations, then we're done, then we move on, and always feel free to come talk to me. And I wanted to open that conversation with my kids. So now that my 8th grader's done it, we're going to talk about it maybe next year, maybe year after, I don't know. Whenever she gets back around to health, whenever it's on her plan, we're not going to do maturation again because she's already been through it. Why keep bringing up the same thing? So we're not going to go back through it again. We're just going to highlight like what I believe the 2 basic points of maturation unit are, which is who are you in Christ and what does God say about dealing with maturation, and that's it. And that's all I do with my kids after that. But I will be teaching the class without that, and then I'll show you what I put in place of that when she goes back through it. But the other 3 had it and are done. So I will say that was in there. Then the next thing that I went over was we spent 3 weeks on spiritual health. We start with where is the starting point in our spiritual health? How do we handle things whenever Satan's throwing everything in the world against us? And then how do we continue growing in our spiritual health and maintaining the spiritual walk with Christ? Because I believe that as a Christian, that's your anchor point. That's the point you need to go back to. Because guess what? Life is hard. You've got to know how to deal with these difficult things in life and then move on and keep going in a safe and healthy environment. So we spent 3 weeks on spiritual health. Then we spent 1 week on emotions, 1 week on sleep, which I know that goes back to physical health, but also I wanted to focus on 1 week of sleep and talk about how the toxic culture of college today is saying that staying up till 2 a.m. doing college homework and drinking Red Bulls is healthy, and I don't think that is. So we focus on sleep. Then we spent 2 weeks on mental health. We had 2 specific things on mental health. On one of them, we did go back to Bible. And also back to the emotions as well. We did a video. And then the other 2, we went back to Bible. We talked about how to decompress at the end of the day in a healthy way. We talked about how your physical nutrition in your body will change your mental condition. And sometimes when you're feeling those mental battles, it may be that you need to change your nutrition level in your physical body. So we brought that back up. Then from there, we spent 2 weeks, and this is where you could extend it, especially with middle school kids. I've helped tutor middle school kids. Middle school kids are hard because they think they don't need showers or deodorant, and yes, they do. So 2 weeks on personal hygiene. And you could extend that out for as long as you want, and you could cover specific topics of what you needed. With us having cared for multiple children in the foster system and abusive home situations and when they were in between homes and things, there were some points in here that we hit that like, hey, just because somebody's in high school doesn't mean that maybe they do know how to wash their own hair or how to trim their nails appropriately without hurting their fingers or things like that. So we do have those discussions like that. And then we also spent a week on the week of Thanksgiving on manners. Years ago, I had an acquaintance of mine give me a book called Polite Moments, and it talks about manners from a biblical perspective and how to handle manners. And the manners is not like because you're going to look like a slob. It actually points back to a verse in the Bible, and then it says you do this because of others. Like one of the manner points is you're never supposed to make a senior feel uncomfortable. Like if you're bouncing a basketball and you're a senior in a wheelchair, you're going to make them feel scared, and that's not okay. People shouldn't have to feel scared to be around you. So that's one of the things that they cover is like manners aren't just for you. They're also safety measures for everybody in place. And it's also the mindset of we live in such a me world that sometimes we need that reminder that it's not always about us and it's about other people as well. So that's why I love this book for manners. Then the next one was really hard. We did a week on bullying. And that's something that we are going through and that we have been through because it's hard. It's hard. And we went through a week on that, and we had a video with that. And we went through that. And then we also did some Bible with it. And then we finished the year out with eating healthy while traveling. So this is where you could change it. For us personally, eating healthy while traveling is a necessity because my kids need to know that when we live in a world that says you can just pick up fast food and eat super cheap and travel the world, sometimes that eating super cheap and traveling the world constantly is not good for the physical health, and eventually you're going to burn out. So we spent 2 weeks on how do we eat healthy while traveling because I want my kids to understand that like sometimes when we spend that time before a trip constantly planning out the meals and scheduling things out and budgets for these trips that like we want to make sure that they're staying healthy while traveling. So here you could just substitute it with like another nutrition class, which that's a whole different class, and we will talk about that soon. There is a separate class in homeschooling, and I took it in school, called Nutrition and Food. And it is separate from health class because it focuses only on the nutrition in the food and why you take it. You can cover some of it in health class, but if you do it like as your main number one point, it's not health class anymore, it's nutrition. So you can cover it in health, like I said, in health class, but don't focus on it for just that. So I did put some of it in, and it's kind of like a preview of what the kids will be doing for nutrition class, although I did find a free website that I am using for nutrition class, and we'll go over that then. But yeah, that's basically it, and that's how I hand wrote out a health curriculum. So like I said, I am going to be doing the PDF for this as members only post. I'm going to leave it at 99 cents. I thought about putting it at the $4.99 level because like I really just need the extra money right now with stuff that happened over the holidays. But I decided like my ultimate goal of this channel was to help people see that not everybody just travels all the time and not everybody just sits at home and homeschools all the time. I wanted to show the in-between. And I know that through this experience that I have had trouble financially sometimes in homeschooling, and which we're not there like at the current moment, but as much except for like the fact that like we're looking at this big trip coming up that was really unexpected. But homeschooling wise, we're in a good place. But I know other homeschool moms are not that way, and some moms don't have the time to spend the 5 hours like I did to sit there and write all that out. So I will send you the PDF. It's some 99 cents a month and above. And also for that whole month while you're on there, We do include like meal plans for our family for breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, and snack for a family of 6 to 7. So that's also included in there. I will include bonus pictures of like some of our trips and things. I recently included a bonus trip from bonus picture from one of our trips to the zoo. If you bump up to the $4.99, you do get bonus videos of like behind the scenes of like why we stopped wearing dresses all the time, why I currently do not wear makeup, rules and stuff for our kids that we've set aside, how we did chore charts for our kids for years, things like that. And we always try to take suggestions for those. I think our love story is also on there. Things that like are too personal to really share on like in general public of YouTube. But that's it for today's video, you guys. I didn't mean for it to be super long, but I also wanted to be extremely detailed of how to do this, because other than my friend Margie, I never really had that encouragement from somebody else to be like, do this, this is how you do it, go for it. And I also didn't want to, I did look at some health curriculum like breakdown of what they cover on some of these for a little bit of inspiration, but also as soon as I looked at them, I was like, that's not where I want to go. Like, I didn't want a Christian curriculum that spent like 2 months of a 1 semester class on drugs. Because like, my kids know we've talked about drugs before, but like, why, you know? And I just felt like that wasn't really for where my kids needed to be. So like, I was like, you know what? I don't want that. So that's where I kind of got the breakdown of like the physical, spiritual, mental, and like there's Christian curriculums that don't cover mental. And I'm like, Elijah dealt with mental depression and things. So like, I'm so scared, you guys. Words that I have said in this, YouTube is going to flag me for everything under the sun, because YouTube does that. So if this ends up getting demonetized, please, please, please help and buy that PDF, or send it to a friend who needs it. But yeah, so like Elijah dealt with it. Like many people in the Bible dealt with emotional and mental issues. And like, it drives me crazy how Christian things don't. And like, I finally, my kid's former youth pastor, who is now a pastor in Michigan, was the first person I ever met that was like a Christian that was like, hey, guess what? Christians can be depressed and it not be a sin in your life. It's just, hey, you're depressed. So I love being able to like have those conversations with my kids. And I love being able to write a curriculum for them that says, it's okay to have these feelings. Here's how the Bible says to deal with them. Here's how you physically deal with them. Let's talk about some nutrition, and let's talk about getting through this together, which is the other reason why I love doing this class. Was like, we did it together. So now they know, hey, I have somebody in my corner that can help me out. That's it for today's video. Thank you to all of our members for supporting this content and allowing us to continue making videos. And thank you to every single one of you. If you can purchase it, great. If you can't, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. And we'll see you next time.